So, it's finally here. It's been 4 years since the last Guild Wars 2 expansion, and there's been updates in between, of course, but nothing as monumental as an expansion launch. I remember seeing the announcement 2 years ago, and ever since then, I've just been eagerly awaiting for this to drop, and I still can't believe it's here, to be honest. Anyway, the night before launch, I went to bed at 8 a.m. with the intention of waking up at 3 a.m. like a lunatic to watch the launch live stream and jump straight in. I did not sleep that night. I was so giddy. It came around to like 2 a.m. and I just thought, fine, I'm getting up. Let's just push through. And in the first 32 hours of launch, I think I had a collective 4 hours sleep. I was a wreck, but man, was I impressed by this expansion. Keep in mind, I'll be showing visual spoilers, so if you care about the story, just listen to this in the background, as I won't call out any specifics. But anyway, this is my review of Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons, so let's talk about it. First of all, what a smooth launch. In the last 6 months, we've had so many new MMOs launch, as well as expansions to existing ones. I've played them and enjoyed them all, but nobody can deny that server queues and lengthy downtime absolutely sucks. End of Dragons had none of this. I mean, they had a countdown on their stream, and as soon as it hit 0, you could log out, download like 1 minute of the patch, and jump straight in, with the rest of it downloading in the background. No queues, no downtime. Since then, they've been patching outlying bugs basically every single day, with again, 0 downtime. This was a true testament to ArenaNet's server infrastructure, and the fact that we could play the campaign all the way through with very few hitches on launch is just fantastic. Speaking of the campaign, ArenaNet really stepped up the production quality with this expansion. There were some really awesome set-piece moments with some pretty involved mechanics to a degree that I don't really think has been demonstrated before in Guild Wars 2. The final mission was just absolutely epic. From the spectacle of it to the personal significance of everything going on, I legitimately had tears welling in my eyes because I was just in awe the whole time. The writing and voice acting were top-notch, supported by fully animated pre-rendered cutscenes and incredible music. This is some of the best music I've ever heard in Guild Wars 2. Without a doubt, this is the highest quality campaign ArenaNet has ever produced. The characters in particular were quite a standout. June, Detective Rama, Mai Trin, and especially Anka, they all had some great development and character moments. They were all so memorable that I didn't even have to Google those names. I really struggle to remember any of the new characters from Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire, but these ones really stuck with me. The voice acting as a whole during this expansion just came across as way more natural across the board. They were all so convincing. Marjorie and Gorik in particular were really fun to listen to. And I mean, back to Anka, man, like what a badass character. Her line delivery was so cold and menacing. It was really cool to see an Asura with this kind of tone. I didn't actually play any Guild Wars 1, so I can't really comment on how well the actual story links back to its roots. But as a conclusion to this Guild Wars 2 chapter, I came away pretty satisfied. It's nothing groundbreaking. Guild Wars 2 has this sort of Marvel feel to it, where it won't win any awards for complex storytelling, but End of Dragons was certainly compelling enough to pull you through the whole way, and I feel like it was generally well-paced. I know ArenaNet really wanted to get this Elder Dragon arc over and done with, but for me, it's a bit of a shame that we couldn't spend more time with some of these characters to get even more of a payoff. Now, the maps, okay. I was pleasantly surprised. First of all, they look way better in-game than they do in the low bitrate live streams, in my opinion. They are pretty gorgeous for the most part. The level design is excellent as always. ArenaNet really don't miss here. They're easy to navigate and have so many cool secret areas. Saitong Province in particular was a great starting area. I was pretty wowed by all the residential villages. I feel like a lot of Guild Wars 2 environments are really focused on natural landscapes, so having these towns everywhere was a nice change of pace. The combat tutorial area is just spot on for new players. This is exactly what the game has needed for a long time, and I think I'm going to do a video discussing the new player experience in the future, because there's a lot of stuff here that's great for anyone just jumping in. New Kaineng City. It's kind of crazy that this map even exists. It's really different playing this versus seeing the live streams because the scale of the map just does not come across watching it on a screen. It's crazy. It feels huge. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in an MMORPG before. Having said that, I really feel like it could have been a bit more dark and broody, a bit more nightclubby. There were these cool EDM remixes of the EOD tracks that the Guild Wars 2 channel was releasing, and it would have been cool to hear these blasting the map at nighttime. It's also quite sparse. I think it would have been a technical nightmare, but just imagine proper crowds of NPCs walking about. It seems like ArenaNet were really banking on players to be filling the map, but there's been some odd instancing issues on launch where the maps feel pretty barren of players. But hopefully this gets fixed up and it'll feel like a crowded city. In contrast though, Echovald Wilds and Arborstone were definitely the highlights for me, at least in terms of art direction. Arborstone especially, like the moment we got introduced to it, my jaw hit the floor. This is absolutely some of the best environment art ArenaNet has served up. I actually couldn't believe I was playing Guild Wars 2. Like, what is this? Elden Ring? The sheer scale, the detail, the lighting, just phenomenal. Echovald itself has this cool, creepy atmosphere with skyscraper-high trees surrounding gothic stone cathedrals. It's so cool. I love it. The only disappointment for me overall with these maps was that I was a little disappointed by the lack of new enemy types. In Path of Fire, we got Forged and the Awakened. In Heart of Thorns, we got Mordrum, Chuck, Hylek, and so much more. Here in End of Dragons, it feels like we basically just got the greatest hits of previous Guild Wars 2 enemies without a whole lot of new additions. It would have been really nice to have seen some more unique stuff here. But what End of Dragons lacks in general enemy diversity, it sort of makes up for with the world bosses, which, man, these are no joke. Typically, world bosses in Guild Wars 2 are just great spectacle. They usually have some neat mechanics, but they're generally a cakewalk. With End of Dragons, ArenaNet had absolutely zero chill. A lot of these bosses here are quite tough. They have a lot of mechanics. They're super punishing. I mean, some of them literally one-shot you. And more importantly, they demand a lot of movement. This is what I've wanted out of Guild Wars 2 open world content since Heart of Thorns, and it's great to see that challenge reintroduced, especially with all the new movement capability baked into some of the new specs. This difficulty also bleeds into the meta events and strikes, which I'll talk about now. So there's a reason I didn't mention the Jade Sea in the map discussion, and that's because as a map, meh. It's okay, I guess. Nothing really stands out about it until you get to the cool Jade Maw world boss, which was quite fun. And oh yeah, the fucking epic but tough as nails meta event that is so difficult, it has caused uproar and controversy within the community because you need to do it to get the turtle mount. There's an achievement to do this event before completing the final story step, so I tagged up with a buddy for the first time ever. Thank you, Teapot, for the tag. And we gave it a shot. This event is fucking cool. You basically split up into 3 teams to escort NPCs and establish a foothold. Then you merge into 2 teams to siege a temple. Then you need to do this Octavine style thing where you need to fill up all these crystals at the same time by killing mobs and hot potatoing the crystal juice between teammates or utilizing mesmer portals. And then finally, you all converge to climb the temple. Then there's the final boss at the top of the temple, which is pretty damn awesome. I actually love that the mechanics are randomized. It really keeps combat super varied and reactive, which complements Guild Wars 2's combat perfectly. My only issue is this dumb Wisp mechanic, where one single player volunteering for this and not knowing what to do can screw up the entire map effort. This feels kind of antithetical to Guild Wars 2's cooperative design in general. I haven't even done this mechanic myself because I don't want to be yelled at by map chat. The boss in general feels a bit overtuned with its super unpredictable attacks which cause a lot of downtime. Even fully organized squads on comms have been struggling with this fight. So expecting over 50 random players to be at the top of their game in an MMO like this is kind of unreasonable. That said, ArenaNet recently made some changes to this fight to properly reward those doing the Wisp mechanic. The DPS windows are longer now, and it seems like we'll have generally less DPS downtime, so I suspect that that'll alleviate a lot of the issues people have. Otherwise, I love the general difficulty of this. I think it's actually cool to have a meta event that can fail if people are slacking off. I mean, my group didn't even clear it, but I still had an amazing time. I mean, what can I say? It's grand, it's multi-stage, engaged, it utilizes all the best mechanics from other bosses and events across the game. This is without a doubt the best open world event ArenaNet has ever delivered. I haven't gotten around to doing the meta events in the other maps. I've heard they aren't on this level, but if the rewards are there, then they'll be enjoyable enough. Now, strikes. Strikes are the focal point for PvE instanced content moving forward, it would seem. ArenaNet have had a poor reputation with their instanced PvE content, to say the least. I really like fractals and raids. They're all really well designed, but they just don't have the update cadence that other MMOs have, seemingly because they're unsustainable to develop alongside their story and open world content updates. So ArenaNet came up with strikes in the last season of content, the Icebrood Saga, and they were received with mixed reception. They're essentially Final Fantasy XIV trials, just a single boss fight in an arena. But 90% of them were absolutely face roll, easy mode. The strikes in End of Dragons blow all of these out of the water in terms of both difficulty and design. They have a basic story mode version, which is integrated into the campaign, then a proper 10-man normal mode after you've unlocked them in the story mode, and a raid difficulty challenge mode, which should be arriving within the next few weeks. I, once again, tagged up for the first time, thank you Teapot, and got a totally random group together within 2 minutes, divided our squads based on my general knowledge of role composition, and we set out for our scuffed run through all 4 strikes. Let me tell you, I was really, really impressed by these. We managed to clear the first 3 strikes in 1 or 2 attempts, but by the skin of our teeth, really. We usually only had about half the squad alive by the end of them. Let's be clear, you do not need a super optimized meta composition to clear these. You do not need to be on comms or do organized callouts. We literally winged these strikes and adjusted as we went. As long as you have a competent healer in each group, you should be okay. There's no enrage timer, so it's mostly about focusing on mechanics, of which there are many. Some of them make a return from other content within Guild Wars 2. Some of them are brand new. There's a lot of overlapping mechanics which encourage map awareness and movement. More importantly, you can't trivialize these fights. You need to be moving because there are mechanics that will one-shot you, and there are mechanics that disincentivize stacking, but they're all very intuitive in their design and well telegraphed. The 4th and final strike is honestly just fucking spectacular. It has so many phases, so many unique challenges with each phase. I mean, we couldn't even clear it after 5 or so attempts, but man, what a fight. Again, just crazy spectacle combined with stellar music. It got me really excited to spend some more time optimizing my build, coordinate with friends, and have another crack at it later. I mean, this is the first time we've had new instanced PvE content at the launch of an expansion, and they've really hit a home run, I think. With the fights being part of the story and having multiple modes to cater to all crowds, hopefully this becomes the sustainable PvE endgame that we've all been waiting for, and I really look forward to more fights coming in the future. Now, I haven't even mentioned fishing or skiffs, which are 2 of the new masteries that go hand in hand. I was really worried that skiffs would be overshadowed by skimmers, but the general speed of them and being able to fish along the way really gives them some nice utility. Fishing itself is also really enjoyable. It's basically identical to Stardew Valley fishing, and that's fine by me. This isn't even mentioning Jade bots, which are, well, they're okay, I guess. I like the convenience of being able to place your own little waypoint. I like the little glider boost, etc. Admittedly, I haven't really explored all the modules and whatnot, but I'm sure I'll enjoy the extra utility. I really hope ArenaNet consider letting us use the free cam mode out in the open and allow us to go first person as well. This would be basically all the community is asking for in terms of a photo mode. The game could really do with something like that. I also really hope the modules become account-wide in some sort of wardrobe unlock system, because there is no way I have the organizational capacity to store them in my inventory and get new ones for my alts. It just sounds like a nightmare. Now, how about that siege turtle, huh? I don't have it yet. It's locked behind that Jade Sea meta event, but regardless, I'm very excited to finally get my hands on it one day. You might be surprised I haven't mentioned elite specs at all in this video, which are basically subclasses for those not in the loop. That's because I haven't really figured them out yet. There's been quite mixed reception for these, as there always is. So I'll reserve judgment for them when I get my head around them all, and probably make an entire series of videos dedicated to reviewing them. That said, I played the entire expansion as Willbender, which is my Guardian's elite spec, and I actually have enjoyed my time with it. It's fast, it really rewards using multi-hit skills, it definitely feels quite distinct from both Dragon Hunter and Firebrand. I've been focusing on Condi damage, but also dabbling in providing Alacrity. More on that later this week, most likely. So, that's End of Dragons. A lot of highs, a few lows, but I think it's important to remember the context in which this expansion was developed. 3 or 4 years ago, we were basically told we'd not be getting another expansion ever. The focus was on Living Worlds, and as much as I actually enjoyed the Icebrood Saga, for the most part at least, I feel like the morale was quite low in the community. After the creative director on the Icebrood Saga left the project just a few episodes in, ArenaNet had to scramble to figure out what was next for Guild Wars 2. After huge layoffs and major talent leaving, they had to heel turn and develop an expansion. They needed a comeback. End of Dragons, I think, succeeded in that comeback, but more importantly, it feels like ArenaNet have finally found their footing across both the solo and cooperative sides of the game. The production value of the story has never been better, and it finally feels like we have concrete, sustainable PvE content that can cater to all kinds of players in the form of strikes. Crucially, with World vs. World alliances arriving, DX11 support, and the plans for a Steam release, we can clearly see that ArenaNet are all in on Guild Wars 2. They're in it for the long haul, and with even more content coming very soon, like strike challenge modes and the legendary weapon evolutions, I suspect we will be too. I hope you enjoyed this review. Feel free to share your thoughts on End of Dragons below. What are you currently working on, and what are you looking forward to? I'm off to try that crazy Jade Sea event again and finally get my turtle, so I'll catch you later.